On a cool, beautiful fall afternoon in upstate New York, we welcome you live to Syracuse. This is college volleyball coming your way on the ACC network, and two teams, as you look at it now, desperate for a win. The Syracuse Orange taking on the Boston College Eagles. I'm Paul Sunderland. Thanks so much for joining us. Syracuse made some headlines at the beginning of this COVID-shortened fall season by beating Pittsburgh twice, which was ranked second at the beginning of the season. Playing the Panthers at home. This is a team in the Panthers that went 18-0 in the ACC last year, but it was all Syracuse winning both of those matches to start off the season. But since that time, they have really been struggling. You look at the numbers through the first couple of matches as compared to what has happened since then. 2-0, those are nice numbers. Sets won. In the last four matches, Syracuse has only managed one set win. They've lost two matches to Notre Dame, two matches to Louisville. The offensive numbers have really tanked since then. But they have one of the best in the country in Polina Shamanova, and she's going to lead the way on the outside, but has really been struggling of late. The numbers way down. That'll be a story throughout the rest of this shortened season. And Elisada also on the outside hitter from Israel. For Boston College, a couple of outside hitters, and Chukwujeku along with Claire Naughton. Boston College, a very young team, bringing in a whole host of new players in their freshman season, are 0-4. There's Jason Kennedy in his third year as the Boston College head coach. Spent many years at the right hand of Hall of Famer Mick Haley out at USC. Mick Haley certainly one of the best in the business. And speaking of that, Leonid Yellen in his ninth year in Syracuse after coming over with many years very successfully at Louisville. 12-13 last year, 9-9 in the ACC. Ready to go, the season winding down. The last weekend, each team going to play 8 matches in this fall shortened season. We'll talk about the spring and what's going to happen then. But Syracuse and Boston have both lost 4 in a row. Syracuse won both matches last year. Claire Naughton will start things out for the Eagles of Boston College. Best 3 out of 5 sets. Boston College playing in a 6-2 with 2 freshman setters running the offense. That's a lot of responsibility and trying to play pretty quickly to the outside. Long opening for it. That ball tipped down the line, but just missed by Izzy Clavena, 6'2" sophomore out of Dallas, Texas. Boston College was 15-15 last year. Excuse me, let me correct that. 15-15 in Jason Kennedy's first year. 20-12 last year. 11-7 in the ACC. Sada back to serve, and a very nice blocking move by an experienced and internationally trained Syracuse team. Polina Shamanova wearing number 11 in white. Averaged 5.2 kills per set last year, set a school record, but has really been struggling of late, as has Syracuse. Been kind of a surprise, particularly after the way they started the season against Pittsburgh. Here is Sada once again. Nice quick offense. When we spoke with Boston College's head coach Jason Kennedy, if I didn't mention, now in his third year, they're going to withstand some learning pains and some errors because they want to play quickly, and that was a nice recognition out of the middle, wide open, and the delivery into the middle. This is Amaka Chukwujeku, 5'11" senior out of Laurel, Maryland. Shamanova missed that ball out of bounds. I'll mention it again. In the last 3 matches, Shamanova, usually very reliable, very productive. 103 swings, 25 errors. So you can quickly do the math. Almost a 25% error rate. For an outside hitter, hitting against a well-formed block, hitting some out-of-system swings, 10-11% is kind of acceptable. So way above where a hitter of her quality should be. Shamanova comes right back with a kill into the deep cross court. That is a really good play right through the seam. Middle blocker for Pittsburgh a little bit late, and Shamanova able to find
some open court. Did have 20 kills the opening weekend match against Pittsburgh. Here's Lauren Hogan, libero out of Loveland, Ohio, on the serve for Syracuse. And a pretty good start by the visitors from Boston College, again still looking for their first win on this abbreviated fall schedule. All of these matches will count in the standings going into the spring. The third, make it the fourth week, if you will, of January, when the season restarts. The ACC divided their 15 teams into 3 different pods, North, Central, and South. We'll go through those standings when we have a moment. One of the 2 setters for Boston College, Lauren Lambrose, out of Southern California. That ball tipped nicely off the edge of the block and down, and Syracuse takes the early 4-3 lead. That set not all the way out to the pin, but a very, very nice off-speed shot by number 11, Shimanova. Here is Yulia Yastrub, 6'2" senior out of the Ukraine. Anybody who's been following Syracuse and been following head coach Leonid Yellen for his many years, not only at Syracuse and prior to that at Louisville, are used to the number of international players that have proliferated throughout his rosters. That's not a bad choice by number 5, the setter, Ilyana Karaskai, 6' junior out of Athens, Greece. That was open in the middle as Boston College middle blocker vacated. There was Coach Yellen. And that ball served just out of bounds. Serving is always a key, but particularly for a team like Boston College trying to break through. Serve deep, serve accurately. As Shimanova will go back to serve. Last year, 5th in the nation in kills per set. Jordan Thompson, you remember, the All-American, prolific opposite attacker from Cincinnati, led the nation in kills per set. She is now very much in the mix to win a spot on Karch Kirai's now 2021 Olympic roster for Tokyo. Anna Murphy, 5'6" freshman out of Zionsville, Indiana, on to serve. Tied at 5, opening set. That ball tucked nicely inside the block. Good transition opportunity and conversion for Boston College. Silvia Iannicelli, 6'1" sophomore out of Trentino, Italy, with the kill. Another transition chance. Nice response by Syracuse. They're going to get a free ball out of it. Syracuse dodges one there, had a free ball opportunity, were unable to get anything out of it in terms of attacking. Marina Markova, the 6'5" sophomore wearing number 3, not quite there in the connection with her setter, and we'll go back to serve. Nice play out of the middle. Transition opportunity one time to Markova, not quite there, but this time Abby Cassiano, the 6'2" sophomore middle blocker out of Riverview, Florida, able to put that ball away. That ball served just out of bounds. Both teams trying to put on some service pressure. Boston College, we mentioned young players throughout the roster as Jason Kennedy is really trying to up the talent level at BC. 2 freshman setters, Grace Penn and Sophia Lambrose, both out of California, running a 6-2. Good reaction by BC, but deflected that ball just out of bounds. Chukwujeku was there on the second contact attack by Syracuse, but deflected that ball just out of bounds. Coming right back, Chukwujeku with a nice kill out of the middle, undersized in these days, 5'11" senior middle blocker, as we mentioned, out of Maryland. But this is a nice first ball contact leading to a quick side out. Tied at 8, opening set. Both teams passing the ball pretty darn well. Got to put on a little bit more service pressure, and a nice play and connection out of the middle. Kill by number 13, Yulia Yastrub. Boston College mentioned they were 0-4, lost twice to Louisville and twice to Pittsburgh. Each team playing 8 matches in this fall schedule. That ball right in the deep cross-court corner. That's the way to use all 9 meters of your side of the court. Almost off speed inside the block. Kristen Jensen, 6'1" freshman out of Temecula, California, able to put that ball away. Both setters from California and that outside attacker, all of them freshmen as well. That ball just out of bounds. That's a really good eye by Lauren Hogan, the libero in the off-color jersey for Syracuse.
Next to serve the orange is number 1, Lauren Hogan.
She'll go back to serve, averaging a gaudy 4.9 digs per set. That ball missed out of bounds. So Shimanova continues to struggle. That's really surprising for a player of her capabilities. I'll get you her numbers so far. Shimanova is 2 for 4 with 2 errors. So in volleyball stats, she's hitting 0. Yeah, it's possible to hit negative. That's if you have more errors than kills. So 2 kills subtracted by 2 errors. Shimanova hitting 0. Last year she hit 268. Really good numbers for someone who's such a focal point of the offense for Syracuse. But this year, numbers way down. And we spoke to head coach Yellen, and it's been really difficult for a lot of these players, particularly internationally with COVID. A lot of uncertainty. Do I leave the country when things closed down last year? Will I be able to get back in? And they have had some unique challenges because of the unique makeup of their roster. Boston College siding out pretty efficiently against Syracuse here on the road, tied at 11 opening set. And once again, it's number 9, Jensen, Katrina Jensen, able to put that ball away. Syracuse only hitting 105. Excuse me, 133. It's Boston College 105. Shimanova again. Beautiful dig in the back court. Bridget Green, number 8, playing some DS. Good coverage. That's good work by BC. Momentum rally close to the midway point of this opening set. That's not great ball control by Syracuse. Almost trapping their setter right on top of the net, Karaske, but able to get this ball down to the floor. That's a reaction that Boston College should make.
Serving the orange now, number 11, Alina Shamanova.
Even on a mid-range pass, BC wants to play fast, and sometimes they'll have to pay the price for that. There's Marakova. Elena Karakase, the 6-foot junior setter, as we mentioned, out of Greece, running things for Syracuse now with a 2-point advantage. Karakase had to make the first contact. That's not what you want to do in transition if you're Syracuse or anybody else for that matter. And then that ball off the edge and out of bounds. That is a good response from Boston College, trailing now by only 1. Markova, nice play on the slide by the 6'5" sophomore from St. Petersburg, averaging just under 2 kills per set, only hitting .262. But all of the orange, Markova and all of her teammates have really been struggling over the last 4 matches, as we detailed, albeit to good opponents. Lost twice to Notre Dame, twice to Louisville, and only managed to take 1 set during that stretch. Missed contact out of the net. Chukwajeku could not save that ball. A free point for Syracuse as we'll get to the media timeout. Teams will head to the sideline. Syracuse and Boston. Jen Hoffman, the All-American from Louisville and former assistant coach there for the Cardinal. Good to have you with us, and boy, did we miss you early on. Close opening set, Jen. Shamanova, as we've talked about leading up to this match, some early struggles putting the ball away and also with a couple of errors. There is Shamanova right on cue inside the hand of Chukwajeku for the nice transition point.
And that was actually Ella Sada.
Yeah,
that's one of the
indeed.
players. That's one of the players that we talked about saying that she needs to step up for Syracuse to get into their offense.
Told you I needed you. That was a nice swing by Sada. Little wrist away off the inside hand. Very nicely done.
Nice sharp corners. She needs to continue to find her way to score.
Syracuse looking to add to their biggest lead so far in the opening set. And sometimes, even when you take a very good high, hard swing, when things aren't going your way, as you know, Jen, the ball goes down on your side.
And not to mention, let's talk about Boston College. Them in a 6-2 offense, they're allowed to have a bigger presence at the net. So even though Ella Sada got a good, nice high swing, she needs to be prepared, and the defense for Syracuse needs to be prepared to pick those balls up.
That was a good response and a much needed block that time for Boston College as Grace Penn goes back to serve. Karakase on the joust and back off of the Syracuse orange and out of bounds. So back-to-back points for Penn and the Eagles of Boston College, still looking for their first win in the fall.
See a nice joust. Chukwajeku with the last touch.
Oh, what a block. Chukwajeku closing the door on the cross court, number 14 in black, stuffing that ball straight down, and a very nice 3-0 run here for Boston College to get right back in.
Chukwajeku and Clavena are up, ready and prepared. You see the reach in from Chukwajeku.
Out of system should be an opportunity for Boston College looking for the tie. Chukwajeku, but no, out of the middle. Nicely done one-on-one. Cassiano with a stuff block, number 16 in white.
And Cassiano did a good job of remaining consistent. You see her push in, taking away position 1, protecting that setter, so to speak, and getting that block.
Very streaky on both sides of the court as Karakasi goes back to serve. That ball just over the end line and out of bounds.
And you mentioned very streaky. This is a momentum-driven match and a momentum-driven game. So someone has to really consider that they need to chip away at some points, get some points on the board.
Claire Naughton, who we talked about before first serve, the 6'1" senior out of Atlanta, all 32 matches last year, and leading the way in terms of kill production so far on the season. Nice high flat shot, much needed kill and side out score. Number 13, Julia Jastrub, able to put that ball away.
And Jastrub is another player for Syracuse that can really put up some big numbers. So we see that Paulina Shamanova only has 2 kills, but she's getting some help from her outside pins.
I'll talk to you in a moment, Jen, about how the season has gone, albeit very, very briefly. We talked about the unique challenges. Nice block out of the middle once again by Cassiano to extend the lead back to 3 for Syracuse. Syracuse beats Pittsburgh to start the season, but what has happened to them really over the last 4?
And it could be that the conditioning is not there for such an abridged fall season, but you have to consider that everybody's on the same playing field. Yeah. So the conditioning and going into it, the travel could be a real presence for an international threat like Syracuse, right, having come from a lot of different countries throughout this quarantine process. So a lot of different elements added into it.
Timeout is called by Boston College. Syracuse on top of the Eagles, the Orange on top of Boston College by 3. A look at the comparisons in terms of where these teams rank respectively in terms of the ACC. See, kills, points have been really hard to come by for Jason Kennedy and his Boston College Eagles. They only average 9.6 kills per set, and that's just not enough. That's just not enough offense, as you well know, Jen.
But Jason Kennedy, he has a young team. He's got 10 freshmen on his roster. So a lot of that could be during this pandemic, during the protocol that they have to deal with. It's all about youth, and he's gradually building a program. When he talked with us this past week, he says that they're still wanting to run that fast offense. So you'll still see, even off of the hands of 2 freshman setters for Boston College, their tempo and their offense is going to be really, really speedy.
Well, I think he's trying to establish, as coaches are so wont to say these days, a different culture. Boston College has not been among the top teams in the ACC or the country, and also coming out of a system under the tutelage of Mick Haley. And Mick Haley was very adaptable. He always played a very, very slow offense. When you were at Louisville, you'd be aware of that. And then towards the end of his career, he completely changed and went light, warp speed. And Kennedy, and Coach Kennedy is trying to bring that speed to Boston College. That ball off the top of the block and out of bounds, and Syracuse now with a 4-point advantage.
And you talk about it, no matter how much you think that you want to build a certain type of culture and a certain type of offense, it's still first contact. You still need a pass to those young freshman setters to run the offense.
Nice dig right on target, but Chukwujeku is there again. She's been good for BC.
Very, very active in transition, as you see Naughton get a block on the right side. Cassiano is all over the front of the net, really doing a good job of moving laterally, penetrating. You see Jastrub even take away that angle. That is the epitome of the blocking style, and look at the energy.
I used to get excited when I blocked a ball because it rarely happened. 21-16. That ball right on the sideline. Yeah, though, they're going to call a touch. Amaka Chukwujeku, only 5'11", which is really, really small for a middle blocker in today's college volleyball. Doing a very nice job.
And being somewhat undersized, Chukwujeku makes up for that with how quick she is in her arm swing out of the middle.
Boy, BC late to that opportunity. There's no question that was going to be off speed after the poor pass by Syracuse. Chukwujekwu with the dig, but Ayanna Crabtree cannot put that ball away on the outside.
And you see Crabtree, even though that was off system, off of the net, sometimes you can't establish that quick offense. You need to get that ball nice and high to your pin hitters to be able to get a full aggressive swing. So that quick ball, even though it was out of system, proved good for Syracuse.
BC needs to get out of this rotation, and they'll go off speed over the top of the block and down the sideline. And a much needed side out. That was Clavena with a nice off speed shot. She'll head to the sideline, replaced by, these are the 6-2 system, two opposites. They will come in and play front row for the setter who departs.
And you see Lambros entering in the back row for Boston College. They use a lot of substitutions if they want to. This is why they need to make sure that when they're in a rotation, they need to score as many points as they can, because one and done is not going to cut it for the offense.
Sada off speed out of the backcourt. That ball ruled on the floor. They called a net violation against Boston College, and a break for Syracuse, now just 2 points away from the opening set.
Timeout, Boston College. Our score, Syracuse.
Boston College will use their second and final timeout, trailing 23-18. And while we have a moment, want to remind you, coming up on Sunday, first up it's field hockey with Duke taking on North Carolina. Then it's a women's soccer match between Miami and Pittsburgh at 1:30 Eastern. And it's a women's volleyball doubleheader. Number 10 Pittsburgh squares off against number 5 Notre Dame. And Virginia takes on Virginia Tech in Blacksburg to round out our Sunday's best right here on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Good to be playing, isn't it, Jen? I live out in Southern California, and there's no Pac-12 action. There's no volleyball out of the Big Ten right now. So, but 3 conferences, the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12, among many others, are playing, and awfully, awfully glad that they are. And I know the players are excited. Even though it's an abbreviated season, they're really glad to be back out on the court.
And I believe that's the overall theme when you see that volleyball is actually being played in the fall, regardless of how long. There's only 8 matches for the ACC, 3 pods. Everyone is just grateful to be able to play and to get into the system.
Chukwujekwu on the sideline right now as the middle blocker. Syracuse just 2 points away. It was 15-12 at the media timeout. 19-16 Syracuse had the lead and has pulled away since then. Syracuse still with some offensive woes that they've experienced over the last 4 matches, only hitting 139, but BC, once again, you saw where they were ranked, right near the bottom in terms of kills per set, just can't generate enough offense to stay with Syracuse, at least for the moment. Well, that looked like it should have been an easier opportunity for Lauren Hogan, but unable to control that shot out of the backcourt, and point and possession. Claire Naughton with the kill out of the pipe. Back to Boston College.
And I will say, even though Paulina Shamanova for Syracuse has been having some difficulty trying to fight back in her performance, Syracuse looks a little bit cleaner than they have in the last couple of matches that they've played. They've gotten a lot of productivity from Yastrud, and they've gotten a lot from Ella Sada. So they've got the key components. They really just need to take care of the contact.
Shamanova back to serve the first set point for Syracuse. Syracuse, in spite of the fact that that was a tool down the line against Karakasi, has been pretty good in the block phase, pretty good in serve receive, and getting enough offense, as you said, from a number of weapons to have yet another set point. The libero Murphy back to serve, another freshman, 5'6" freshman out of Indiana for BC, where they are really very much in the rebuilding phase. Markova is dug. And through the block and down, a nice second swing by Claire Naughton. Naughton now with 3 kills on 13 swings. Excuse me, Jen.
And you've got to appreciate the fact that even though that was an out-of-system ball, Claire Naughton is really still taking some quality swings. The block for Syracuse has always been money, as I would say. That's one of Coach Yellen's real sticklers, is that he's very defensive-minded. But for Syracuse, Claire Naughton needs to get a little bit more involved in system, and maybe that quick ball is not her way to play. So getting that ball high, nice, and outside to the pins might be what can be done for Boston College to put forth an effort here.
You alluded to the fact that Syracuse looked a little smoother to you over the beginning of this match as compared to the previous 4 against Notre Dame and against Louisville. In what sense did you see that?
Now, not at all perfect for sure, but they've just gotten a lot more productivity out of some key players, and not necessarily all the focus being on Paulina Shimanova. Especially with her kind of in the decline. She had a great match against Pitt in their first outing of their first weekend to start the fall season, but she has been on the decline, having gone to Louisville. Although she, made her 1,000th kill of her career, it's still needing to be a lot more productivity where the offense doesn't rest solely on her shoulders. So even in this match so far, she's only got 2 kills, but the ball is being spread around a little bit more for Syracuse.
Only a junior. She's twice all ACC in 2018, 2019. We talked about her numbers, averaging over 5 kills per set. But it has been a challenge for a lot of these players internationally as well as domestically to deal with the restrictions and the uncertainty of COVID. Set point again. Nice pass by Hogan. Markova down the line on the slide. Very nice finish coming out of the timeout for Syracuse as they take the opening set 25-21.
And beautiful decision by Carcasa to go to Markova on the slide. Very tall, lanky, so being able to get above the block to hit that ball line, the defense could not handle it for Boston College.
There's no teaching 6'5" Markova putting the ball to the floor for set point. The opener goes to Syracuse 25-21. A wonderful job blocking the ball. 6 stuff blocks in the opening set to really set the tone.
And we have to talk about the way that Cassiano moves laterally. She does a good job of not dropping her hands, and that's something that can't really be taught because a lot of blockers, they want to be able to keep their hands in front. And as you can see, Cassiano is quick to press over, nice tight hands sealing that net. So the epitome of the way you should definitely block, moving laterally and pressing hard.
Just getting a note from our wonderful researcher, Brian Gramling, that although Syracuse has been struggling over the last several matches, and the scores dictate that or tell that quite plainly, they've been blocking pretty darn well, over 4%, which is a huge number. They just need to get their offense together.
And Markova stepping in, doing a good job as well out of the middle for Syracuse. Big block, needs to bring it all together.
There's Cassiano in the middle. Abby Cassiano, 6'2" sophomore out of Riverview, Florida. Must be really interesting. Well, you played for Coach Yellen at Louisville, and he always had a number of international players on his roster that were your teammates. Talk about that culture, how that's a little bit different, and your most fond memories of Coach Yellen.
Well, my most fond memory of Coach Yellen is just being very, very competitive. I come from a basketball background, actually, so we have a father-daughter relationship, even though I played under him and coached with him at Louisville. He was always just so precise and so direct in the way that he approached teaching skill, because again, of course, as you know, you can't teach athleticism, but one of my fond memories is that we called ourselves the ABC crew. It was the American Bitch crew, because there were so many beautiful international players that came and just elevated the program.
Oh, there we go. Jen Hoffman, who had an All-American career for Coach Yellen, up in the upper right, as you see, at Louisville. Took Louisville to the NCAA tournament 14 times. Coach Yellen is originally from Uzbekistan, but if my memory is correct, came to the United States almost 3 decades ago. Nice crossbody out of the backcourt by Boston College, and they take the early lead. We had a very, very interesting Zoom conference with Leonid Yellen the other day. Very, very, what's the word? Sympathetic individual. You could just tell how much he cares about his players and how much difficulty they may have been having because of the unique makeup of his roster, dealing with COVID and all of the uncertainty. It was really, really a wonderful visit.
And you see that block by Boston College. But again, it's with the defense for Syracuse. You see Markova couldn't really get her hands there fast enough. But going back to the relationship and our conversation with Coach Yellen this past week, the one thing that I said is he's gotten soft as he's continued to coach.
That's what they all say. They always seem much softer as the years go by.
And now you have the pandemic, and you obviously can't see the faces of some of these coaches, but you can definitely read the body language. Usually he's screaming and shouting, but sometimes it's just a nice deep breath to keep going.
Shamanova ripping that ball into the cross court, but missed it out of bounds.
She was not happy about that attack. And I think if we look at Shamanova's feet positioning, that's one of the things. Her footwork to the ball is a little bit unorthodox for an outside hitter. But she needs to make sure that she's squaring and opening herself up to the corner instead of trying to always get the sharp cross.
That ball off the block and out of bounds. Markova with the kill, hitting that off of Gabby McKay, the 6'3" sophomore out of Minneapolis, wearing number 3 in black. You said that Shamanova, her approach, her technique is a little bit unusual, and you alluded to it briefly, but in what sense?
She takes the one-step approach. It's not the traditional left-right-left approach. So it doesn't allow, for me, it doesn't allow for you to really position your body properly to make sure that you're opening up to the entire court. So her unorthodox swing, she's going to need some help. And getting it from Markova is how you're going to do it.
Call center line violation, whoever attacked. I'm watching hands. He called center line.
Well, we've got a conversation going on between the officials. Markova is celebrating, and with good reason, as that ball was hammered to the floor. But they're saying that prior to that, there was a center line violation. That is Jung Park. He is the second referee. First referee is Wade Dubois.
That's right. The score's right. You didn't actually check the score.
So the call goes in the favor of Jason Kennedy and the Boston College Eagles, as after they drop the opening set 25-21, they take the 6-2 advantage here in the second. See the body language from Shamanova, shaking her head.
And that's been her body language because she's trying so fast as she hails that ball towards position 5.
Anna Murphy just standing in and digging a rocket from Shamanova.
And that's what we call the angry swing, but we want to see more of the aggression, as you see Caracasa being a very, very aggressive setter. That's something that Syracuse hasn't really been able to implement because they've been trying different strategies with their offense. But you knew the ball was going to Shamanova, and you knew she was going to put it away on that one.
This is the last weekend of this abbreviated fall season for Syracuse. When we show you the standings, and we'll get to that as the match goes along, point Syracuse now 6-4. You know, some teams have had matches postponed, so they're not quite near the finish line, but Syracuse, for them, this is the last of their matches. This is match number 7, and you'd think that Shamanova will look forward to the break. kind of like the All-Star break in the NBA or Major League Baseball season. She just might want to be able to get away and get her fitness back to 100%, because Syracuse will certainly need her come spring.
And I think you're absolutely right. I think the downfall of a lot of the protocol that has been established for these different universities and colleges is that the conditioning of the athletes has to be different because of the different protocol. So this might be a time for Shimanova to get into some really true volleyball condition headed into the spring season.
She did not go back to Russia when school closed in the spring. She stayed in the upstate New York area. Nice play by Markova down the line. She's been impressive so far. I'm going to quickly get her numbers.
And Markova has really impressed on that slide right now on the match. She's looking at 4 kills, 5 kills, 8 attempts. So giving her first tempo, especially with Boston College not being able to move very well laterally on that block. Claire Naughton was nowhere to be found.
Very nice serve, out of system swing, but that ball off the top of the block. Nicely done by Boston College to get out of that situation. Claire Naughton with yet another kill. That's 5 kills on 16 swings for Naughton as a team. Syracuse now hitting 174, and Boston College inching up, trying to get over 100. McKay back to serve.
Now this is a rotation for Boston College that they really want to stay in. You've got Chikwajeku and Claire Naughton up front row. Good on the blocking and the defensive end, but also on the offensive threat.
Missed opportunity there for Boston College. A ball that was set a little bit too tight, but able to get that ball off the side of the block is Ella Sada. Sada, like Shimanova, numbers down from last year. She hit 172, which is not nearly where she would like it or her head coach, but down at 104 so far on the season. Caracasa back to serve. And Shimanova is blocked. Great save and good hustle by Syracuse. But I think it was Shimanova out of the back court, has that shot rejected.
And it was all effort from Syracuse. You see Yastrub getting on the floor, going for that ball, just making sure that at every second, no ball touches the floor. Nice hustle play, everyone coming together.
Trying to cover for their teammate Shimanova. You know, there's sometimes when you're really in a slump as an attacker, your teammates rally around you, save a ball that might have been blocked, and it can turn around your feeling and momentum. Her body language has not been very good. Boston College chance to extend the lead, but that missed out of bounds by Naughton. I remember that point. Possibly a 2-point switch. Naughton looking for high hands, missed it out of bounds. So instead of it being 10-6, the score 9-7. Boston College only leading by 2.
And I don't know, from your advantage, Paul, you see that Claire Naughton is really getting some decently placed balls, nice and high, out to the pins. She needs to be able to control those balls instead of pushing them long.
Chikwajeku is covered out of the middle. Nice block by Syracuse off speed. I think the 2 young setters for Boston College have done a pretty nice job. Ball's located pretty well. They're getting some quality looks, as you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
And that ball through the block and down. Shimanova able to put the ball away, updating her numbers now. 4 kills on 14 swings, but 5 errors hitting negative. See Coach Yellen there, almost giving her some technical approach advice that you were alluding to earlier, Jen.
And again, with that one-step approach, even though she gets her power, no one's trying to teach her how to approach the ball because she's been as successful as she has been.
Yeah.
It's all about getting the right position and the right power.
Quickly to the outside again, killed by Izzy Klevina. And BC continues to run it very, very quick to the pins with both setters.
And look how this ball barely clears the net, and that's the type of offense that Boston College is really trying to figure out if they're going to run it successfully. So you see Claire Vina with that kill on the pin. Super low, but super fast.
Yastrub dug off the right side. Nice transition opportunity. And right now, BC doing a very nice job in terms of hitting in transition for a pretty high efficiency and forcing a timeout to be called by Syracuse. Set over Syracuse, leading it 11-8. And you will notice that the BC players have opted to wear masks during competition, while the Syracuse players have opted not to. It's up to the individual teams, respectively, and a nice response coming out of the timeout. A good delivery by Karaska. There are the protocols, especially in this very small building. And some of the arenas around the country, thinking most notably of Texas, we saw Wake Forest the other day. You can see the rest of them for yourself, but teams have come out of what would be their smaller facilities and moved into the basketball arena for distancing and COVID reasons. That ball set a little bit tight, up into the block, restart the point. BC is digging some balls and getting some opportunities, and they're going to get another here.
Again, that unorthodox approach prevented Shamanova from really taking an attack on that swing. She had to give it a free ball, but nobody's really taking charge and wanting to win the point. They're just waiting for a mistake. As you see, Yastrub sails it out.
That ball rifled well long, and it's an excellent point you make, because it seems like right now, in transition, after a ball is dug by BC, they're getting a swing. And not exactly the same level of transition volleyball for Syracuse right now. They may get a dig, but they're not getting quality swings out of it.
You're exactly right. It's almost like they're waiting for the perfect set to really get going, when they really have to just make sure that they're going to score.
Nicely done out of the middle. Julia Yastrub able to put that ball away. And another nice delivery by Elena Karakasa, 6-foot junior setter out of Athens, Greece. I wonder what the predominant language is on the Syracuse team. You have players from the Ukraine and 2 from St. Petersburg. Okay, so Russia. But then you have Israel, Athens, Greece. How was it when you were at Louisville?
We tried to really get into the culture of a lot of the international players because it was fascinating. So I had an Asian teammate who taught us some of the bad words to say to some opponents. You see Shamanova really doing it actually on the defensive end if she can't get off on the offensive end. But it was just a really, really good, diverse opportunity to learn from different people.
Oh, very nice offense. Really good, quick delivery and rhythm to the pin. And Katrina Jensen with the kill on the outside.
And you see Jensen starts her transition way back. That ball goes right through the hands of Karakasa. And Syracuse plays man-up defense. So Yastrub, sitting at the 10-foot line, was not prepared to take that to the face.
She almost had a facial delivered that time by Jensen. Boston College has certainly raised its level here in the second set. Good response out of the middle once again. Markova has been the leader, certainly in terms of efficiency, and they'll try to get her the ball as much as they possibly can.
And that was Markova's 8th kill. You see the positioning for Boston College on that block was non-existent. I would keep feeding what has been working for Syracuse, and that's Markova out of the middle. Good transition.
Here's Shamanova. Syracuse back within 1. Markova, as you pointed out, 8 kills on 11 swings, no errors. Pretty good transition set. Wonderful cover that time defensively by the libero, Anna Murphy, in the white jersey for Boston College. Still no swing in transition for Syracuse. And quickly to the outside. Was there a net violation? No, there's a touch off the block. So nicely done by Boston College.
You see Crabtree on the outside getting a swing. And one thing that comes with a freshman setter getting a 6-2, you see that's the Coach Yellen that I remember.
How appropriately named. Yellen is Yellen.
But going back to that set for Crabtree, I think identifying the circumstances and better situations to push that ball quick. Syracuse has to recognize that. Just fast hands over the net for a block.
Another really nice dig by the libero Murphy for Boston College, but nullified by the net violation as Elisada, who you talked about at the beginning of the match, needed to step things up along with Shamanova. There is number 7 in white. If you're just joining us, Syracuse at 2-4 won their first 2 matches over Pittsburgh. Maybe raise some eyebrows with that success. Pittsburgh was undefeated in ACC play last year, and now we're tied here in the second. Markova has been the best player on the floor for either team.
And she's doing it at the service line right now. You see that all pin hitters for Syracuse are well under their offensive average. So if I were Caracasa, I would continue to set what has been working. You've got Cassiano in the middle now, rotating forward. She's got 3 kills, and Markova with 7.
Markova at 6'5", doing a wonderful job from the service line. A lot of velocity, jump float, yep, timeout called by Jason Kennedy. And when we were speaking with Coach Yellen the other day, he made the point that Marina Markova out of St. Petersburg, Russia, not naturally a middle blocker, but she was very receptive and really open to playing the position, and it has really, really helped the Syracuse team. Timeout is called by Boston College, now trailing by 1. Want to remind you, tomorrow we'll have another college football triple header for you right here on the ACC network and the ESPN app. Pittsburgh squares off against quarterback De'Aaron King and number 13 Miami at noon Eastern. Then Virginia takes on Wake Forest, and at 8 Eastern time, number 23 Virginia Tech hosts Boston College in Blacksburg in our ACC network primetime matchup presented by Geico. Your thoughts on how Markova has played so far on the season and so far on, particularly on the early afternoon? I mean, she's 7 of 10, no errors. That is really, really efficient. Scoring well, both attacking and blocking for Syracuse.
And that really does come off of the defensive end for Syracuse. Hogan for Syracuse as the libero has done a good job of keeping the ball away from the net on some of the hard-driven balls delivered from Boston College. But again, the middle offense, the first tempo, is really working for Syracuse, and Markova does a good job of going behind the setter, which splits the block, because again, Boston College has a really good block and a really good front line of defense. So Caracasa moving her middles around is what is working for Syracuse. That's brought them back into this set.
After trailing 11-8 in an early timeout called by Syracuse, the Orange go on a 7-3 run to take the advantage at 15-14, already leading 1-0.
Now Markova has been at this back service line for a couple of points for Syracuse. Boston College really needs to step into this seam and pass the ball, get it as high as they can to make sure that their setters get a handle on it.
Another shank pass, dug out pretty nicely. Boston College going to get a swing. What about transition opportunity for Syracuse? Not yet. Good first contact, giving an opportunity. And Shamanova is blocked once again, and Coach Yellen can't believe it over on the sideline.
Well, it's kind of a predictable offense as well. You have Cassiano who's transitioning. That could have been a perfect opportunity to set Cassiano out of the middle, because everyone in the gym was expecting that ball to go pipe for Shamanova. So getting a little, some other players involved is only going to help Syracuse.
And take some of the pressure off Shamanova. She's clearly struggling. Doesn't have her rhythm, doesn't have her confidence. I haven't seen Syracuse enough to know whether or not the setting is as it should be, but the setting seems fine to me.
And Caracasa for Syracuse, she's a phenomenal setter. Even Coach Yellen says that I would never admit this to her, but she's a great little player. So for the element of Syracuse to keep working, they've got to find somebody else to do it.
Nice dig in the right back. Setter's working hard at the defensive end for Boston College. Off speed. That is really, really a good roll shot. Elasada having a pretty nice match so far here in the second set. That is really a good roll shot.
And that only happened because it was a little bit behind her and she was elevating, because it was a good set to Caracasa, a good pass to Caracasa. So set a little bit behind her, but good decision.
Wow. Boy, right back at you. Two pretty ill-advised plays that time. We'll see who comes out on the better of it. Nice stab in the backcourt by Shimanova. Murphy again. Libero for Boston College has been really solid in my opinion. And then off the edge of the block and out of bounds by Naughton.
Murphy has done a phenomenal job out of middle back for Boston College, really making sure that she's reading the hitters properly, because Syracuse does a good job of using the end line in their approach to try to score some points. But again, Murphy for Boston College really picking up some nice balls to keep it in play.
So they're only crediting her officially in the stats with 4 digs. I thought she had 4 in the last 5 minutes. That ball deflected off the defense of Shimanova after the block touch at the net. Another kill by Claire Naughton, starting to heat things up offensively. Now 8 kills, and she's been busy. Already 27 swings for number 8 in black. The 6'1" senior out of Atlanta.
Again, a good front line for Boston College to take some points and run away with it. Chikwajeku has been quiet on the transition for Boston College.
That's a really good point. She has not gotten many opportunities out of the middle. Need a little better first contact. Roll shot covered by Naughton. And then that off the edge of the block and down. Izzy Clavena out of Dallas, Texas, able to put that ball away. And Boston College, after surrendering the lead at 15-14, has gone back on top by 1. Grace Penn out of Manhattan Beach, California, 5'10" freshman. A long way from home. And that ball, a service winner for Grace Penn, and that might go down as the first ace so far in the column of Boston College, and quickly a timeout called by Syracuse. Really nice response by Boston College. They've been digging a lot of balls. We'll give you those numbers in just a second, but then you have to score, and Claire Naughton doing a nice job. Number 8 in black for Boston College. They're still looking for their first win in this fall season. Doing a very nice job and been very busy.
And I think what Penn and Lambros, the setters for Boston College, I think they figured out the best situation to get a high, easy ball to Claire Naughton and when to speed up the offense. So a lot of shots, and Claire Naughton is finding her way into this offense, only having had 1 kill in the first set. She's got 8 thus far in the match.
Well, both teams have been very busy at the defensive end. I'd said I'd get you the numbers. Boston College with 32 digs, Syracuse credited with 33, and Lauren Hogan, the outstanding libero wearing number 1 in the off-color jersey for Syracuse, credited with 11 digs. Caracasa with 8, and Yastrub with 7. Offensively, Naughton leading the way, and as mentioned, a very, very busy early evening so far in upstate New York with 27 swings. You see the numbers, Syracuse and Boston College by set.
And if you're watching this match, you would think that Boston College is kind of winning that blocking battle, but Syracuse has touched a lot of balls, and the score isn't indicative of how much they've touched at the block. So it's all attributed to Boston College defense to be up by 2 in this set.
Coming out of the timeout, BC leading Syracuse 19-17. Overpass, and BC able to extend their lead, and right on cue, Naughton with the tap down.
And it's not every day that you see that the strategy of a server on that back line is to serve it to the libero. You see that they're trying to tire out Shimanova and Hogan to try to pass that seam, make that decision. So good strategy to sail that one long.
You can live with a few errors if you keep consistent service pressure on from the first ball right to the last. Here's Yastrub back to serve. Syracuse trailing by 2. Chance for Syracuse. That ball, a beautiful high flat swing. Shamanova on the outside, and even if she's struggling, she just doesn't look like a happy athlete to me right now. Even with some success, she is struggling, and that is a unique approach that she has. High off the hands in a deep cross-court corner.
Yes, and you see that one-step approach. It's almost like she's outside of the entire net, and the only place that she can go is deep corner into position 5. That's left back.
Tight pass, saved at the net. Chukwu just keeping that ball alive. A chance again for Syracuse. Pretty good blocking team. Ball right on target. Really good first contact. And Abby Cassiano, you mentioned it earlier that they should be going to Cassiano a little bit more in transition if they have a quality first touch.
And you see that they're getting the ball to Cassiano and even Markova when she's in the middle on a perfect opportunity. They really need to be able to set her. Caracasa needs to be able to set her when she's a little bit off the net to keep the blockers for BC on their toes.
4th kill for Cassiano to go along with 3 blocks. Perfect pass. And through the seam in the block and down. That is a really good response for Boston College. If they had given up another, I'm sure they would have been forced to call a timeout. Nice play by Naughton.
And a beautiful transition. You see Cassiano lead with Chikwajeku for Boston College, leaving somewhat of a single block for Naughton on the right side.
Yeah, Shamanova moved that block way inside, and Naughton went right off her outside hand. And another service error. Boston College now with 6 service errors for 3rd-year head coach Jason Kennedy. Oftentimes it's when, not how many. Tied at 21.
And I think for Boston College, you're going to still see a lot of activity out of the back row with Claire Naughton out of pipe.
Wow, an ace serve right down the line. Might have even been a touch that time on number 8, Naughton. And right on cue, Hogan with the ace.
Well,
no, that ball was in.
That ball was definitely in. But that was a perfect serve because Chikwajeku was moving away from the pass. So they needed to make sure that that decision, that communication was there for Boston College to have Claire Naughton step in that space.
And absolutely perfect serve down the line just when Syracuse needed it. And speaking of perfect, Marina Markova has been almost at the 6'5" sophomore middle blocker out of St. Petersburg, Russia. Having an incredibly efficient evening.
And she has been doing it on the slide. Now that's an activity that we haven't seen because Syracuse runs a 5-1, so Cassiano playing in front of the setter. Markova has done a phenomenal job even on the service and defensively to really put some points on the board for Syracuse. She's leading with 10 points for the offense.
Russia, of course, has produced such great volleyball players on both the men's and women's side, an incredible volleyball culture, very strong professional league. She's enjoying her evening and her conversation with head coach Leonid Yellen. But Russia, of course, one of the great powers in the sport of volleyball for decades, since its inception as an Olympic sport in Tokyo in 1964.
Now what Boston College has to expect is that's going to be a similar serve. They're trying to serve to a space. So Claire Naughton and Chikwajeku really have to make sure that they've communicated who's going to take that pass. If Chikwajeku will take it with her hands or if Claire Naughton's going to step in and be an active serve receiver.
Coming back to the service line is the libero Lauren Hogan, the 5'4" freshman out of Loveland, Ohio, just served up an absolutely perfect ace on cue down the line. Working down the line again. To the outside and a better block. Markova with some help from number 13, Yulia Yastrub. That is a very, very stout block at 6'2" Yastrub and 6'5" Markova.
And what people don't understand is the strategy of a serve is to just make sure that the offense is a little bit predictable. So excellent execution by Hogan to send that ball line, creating the only option to go left side.
Try to go against the grain, go right side, dug by Hogan, a chance to extend the lead. What a dig by Murphy into the cross court, one-handed stab. Markova with yet another kill. That's her 8th so far in 11 swings. And just like that, it's Syracuse with 3 set points.
We look at that sharp angle dug by Murphy for Boston College. Way to be in the space outside of the block to get that ball from Shimanova.
Chukwujekwu ready right on the spot, and a good selection by the setter. Grace Penn running the offense along with Sophia Lambros, both freshman setters out of California. Chukwujekwu as the middle blocker will go to the sideline. Set point number 2. Here is Murphy having an outstanding match so far for BC. Really solid, digging in area 6. Where else are you going to go? Why not go to Markova? She registers yet another kill, stays perfect without an error. Markova right now, 8 of 13, no errors, and puts away set point. Syracuse with a 2-0 lead.
And that was the perfect decision by Caracasa. Go to your hot hand. Markova, 8 kills, perfect.
Intermission here in upstate New York. Syracuse, to be specific, in the orange, the Boston College team.
And a player who is struggling, a player like Shimanova who's struggling, you can see in the body language that it's absolutely frustrating. And you have to understand that Caracasa, their setter, is in a very difficult spot on, do I continue to feed her balls? How am I going to get her involved a little bit more into this match and into this set to kind of dig herself out of the hole? Because the only way to do that is to keep swinging.
Exactly right, especially when you're playing on the left side. You don't get a lot of easy swings, a lot of swings in transition against a well-formed block and defense. And Shimanova, let's take a look at the numbers through a couple of sets. Kills once again for Boston College, even now with Syracuse. That's a good sign. 12 blocks for Syracuse is a big number.
And again, I mentioned that no team is really running away with it. Boston College is kind of just continuously taking those hard-driven balls, taking some good swings, but they're really not taking control. They really need to get Chukwujekwu a little bit more involved in the offense if they want to have an opportunity to at least steal a set.
Just underway here, 3rd set, tied at 1 if you're just joining us. Syracuse at 2 and 4 won the opening set, 25-21 over Boston College. Still looking for their first win on this abbreviated fall schedule. They had an opportunity in the 2nd set before falling to Syracuse, 25-22.
It looked like Macau is in the net on that one for Boston College. Again, just mental errors.
Yastrub back to serve. Markova has just been outstanding. And as you might imagine, getting the start up front. Nice play by Boston College, reacting here quickly, number 3. Gabby McKay, the 6'3" sophomore out of Minneapolis, with the stuff block working against the setter, Caracasa.
And that was a good communication aspect for Boston College that with no fans we would be able to hear. She made sure that she called out the fact that Caracasa can take over that second ball. So good job by McKay of being steady and hands pressed quick.
Shank pass here and a good response, serving and continued pressure from Boston College. Did a very nice job to give them the lead midway through the 2nd set before they eventually went down.
And you see in that pass, Hogan really wasn't moving her feet. You, as a passer and a serve receiver, you have to be just as aggressive on the passing end as you do like an attacker on the left side of the pin. So Hogan not really moving her feet and dropping her shoulders to get a good pass.
Markova would like some help in this match offensively. Markova having to come over and collect that free ball. The tip, Shimanova off the left side. Boston College, both teams are playing hard, but Boston College is really scrambling. And then finally an error by number 3, Markova, who's been superb so far on the evening. That is her first error on 14 swings with 9 kills.
But Jensen, again, does a good job of being with her, even though that ball did not go over the net. That could have potentially still been a block because of the predictability that Syracuse is running in their offense right now. With Markova up front, you know the ball's going to go to her.
Yastrub with a kill out of the backcourt. When you look at the balance or lack thereof for Syracuse, Markova was 8 of 12 through the first 2 sets. She hit 665. The rest of the team was only 18 of 67 with 11 errors, hitting 104. So Markova has been sort of a one-woman wrecking crew out of the middle for Syracuse so far.
But tell me if I'm wrong, Paul, Syracuse still has all of the pieces that they need. They just have got to figure out how to put the puzzle together. Yastrub on the right side. You've got Sada, who's really needing to have some help for Shimanova.
I completely agree. My first time seeing Syracuse, but talk about passing the eye test. I love their libero. She's been very, very solid. Just a freshman. Playing very well is Lauren Hogan. And I agree with you. Caracasa, Sada, Markova, Yastrub, Cassiano. This is a good team, and I'm leaving Shimanova for last. I think This is a good Syracuse team.
And prime example is Sada taking that ball. Nice, easy shot. Rolled it to the corner.
A rare mistake that time by Hogan, misplaying that ball overhand after the block deflection. There is Lauren Hogan. We'll get you her numbers, credited with 13 digs to go along with an ace.
Looks good, seriously.
Hogan with a bad pass, complicating matters. That ball set too tight. And that ball cracked out of the middle. Beautifully done, but out of bounds. So back-to-back hitting errors. That one just a little bit too sharp and wide of the sideline.
And making the decision to keep Markova in the front row, it just brings the blockers for Boston College not in being able to take care of the setter, understanding that she's not going to take the second ball over. So it was a little bit more predictable, and that's what Syracuse is getting in front of.
That ball goes to the floor. Lauren Hogan sliding a little bit in terms of her first ball contact, missed the last couple of serves.
Now,
a lot of responsibility.
Boston College has been in this predicament every single set where they're up during the beginning. They really need to figure out how to capitalize, and you're not going to do it with Markova hitting that slide the way that she just did.
Yeah, so much for those 2 errors, and Jason Kennedy still looking for an answer, keeping the ball out of the hands of Markova. The best way is to serve really tough. Markova now with 11 kills on 17 swings. She's been very impressive. We've seen a couple of good middle blockers. Remember just yesterday, young Aaron Ross out of Marietta, Georgia, lighten things up for Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, another team in the ACC that is a program that has really, really improved over the last couple of years. They're an NCAA team this year.
Absolutely. And I'm pretty sure that Boston College right now in this rotation is happy that Markova is going to get a drink of water, because they need to figure out how to put some points on the board while she's on the bench.
Although I've heard she's very dangerous from the cooler. Cassiano able to put that ball away. Yeah, we talked about it. I mean, that's a couple of solid middle blockers there. Syracuse is really good at every position.
You just have to figure out how to get the pieces and put it together. You see Caracasa wanting that ball to be able to take the second ball over, getting in a good position, but giving it to Cassiano out of the middle really quick to set the offense for Syracuse. Good decision.
Very easy serve, handled as such by BC. Caracasa able to get to that ball. Good hustle by Syracuse. Lauren Hogan, the libero, keeping that ball alive. Yastrub with a good stack. And another chance for Syracuse, and they're back within one.
And you gotta wonder, Paul, for Boston College, they're getting a lot of opportunities to transition their middle. You gotta wonder why Chikwajeku is not really connecting with either of the setters, Penn or Lambros. So freshman setters coming into a program trying to set a veteran middle, it could be tough, which is why she's not getting a lot of attacks.
Well, she heard you, went to the middle there, ball set a little bit low and then off the edge of the block. No, not off the edge of the block. Might have been off the end blocker, but Chikwajeku able to register another kill, number 14 in black.
And we see this, both Chikwajeku penetrating the net. That is the epitome of what you do on the block. Nice quick hands, press over. All you need is the palm.
Couple of blocks now for Chikwajeku. Has assisted on a couple and also has one solo stuff so far on the evening here in Syracuse. That's a really good classy swing. High off the top of the block by Elisada.
And both Elisada and Shamanova really know how to use high hands to really push that ball towards the end line. You see Murphy for Boston College wishing she was a little bit taller to get some hands on it.
And so does Yulia Yastrub, to be specific. That was number 13 with the kill, as number 7, Sada, goes back to serve. Sada from Israel. Easy chance for Syracuse. What can they do with a free ball? Poor first contact. Quality dig into the middle. Chikwajeku there with the block deflection. Syracuse, a third chance for the tie. And off the inside hand and out of bounds. Good, hard, high swing. Shamanova able to register a rare kill.
And let's talk about the hold that Cassiano established out of the middle. It left Chikwajeku trying to make a decision and a little bit half-second late on that outside.
The positive body language, or for that matter, the lack thereof, from Shamanova, very, very evident. Tied at 9. And on the line. Is that one of the hardest things, as still a relatively young player, young person, to get outside of yourself and really realize that you're the leader of this team and that your body language and the way that you express yourself has an impact on all your teammates? Did you go through the same thing, Jen?
I think it's very different between international players and American volleyball players, where their mannerisms are completely different. For Shamanova, maybe being an international player, that's how she speaks, you know, nonverbal communication. So that's why you continuously see that they're going to her as Chikwajeku finally connects with her setter for that kill. But the international verbiage, the nonverbal, is really, really important. And I think that right now, Shamanova is really frustrated with herself, but not having it affect any of her other players, as you see Yastrub, you know, with 5 kills, and Elisada really taking the bulk of the offense with 7 right now.
Yeah, interesting point. Cassiano able to slice and dice that ball away from Chikwajeku and put that ball away. Said that Chikwajeku had been quiet for a while, but they must have been listening. She's had a nice impact on this stage of the 3rd set, with Boston College trailing 2-0.
And hitting in the positive, Chikwajeku only with 5 kills, but really making an impact on the blocking. She's gotten her hands on a lot of touches to get her outside hitters to make some transition.
Right side, that ball is missed out of bounds. The head referee looking around for touches. We may have our first challenge. That ball ruled out of bounds and missed down the line by Izzy Clavena.
Boston College is challenging.
Yeah, I thought that might be the case. It looked like there was a little bit of change. One of the things that you can see is if the ball changes its spin or spin rate, it's a pretty good possibility that the ball has gone off some part of the block. It's our second referee, Mr. Jung Park, and he'll go over and take a look. During this time, they can also take a look at whether there was a net violation, ball in or out, but now specifically looking to see if there was a touch off the Syracuse block. Another look.
And you see Shimanova really looking at the ball, and that's something that you don't want to do as a blocker because no human is faster than the ball. So having late hands up, it could render a touch from Shimanova.
That is a really good point, Jen, about the basics of blocking. The ball's not going to tell you anything. Maybe it's going to tell you where to stop, where to put your feet. But after that, you got to focus in on your opponent 100%.
Because you see Shimanova was nowhere near that ball, but now they're contesting whether she touched it a little bit late. But it's all about foot positioning because for Klavina, she was way far to the left of Shimanova. So now we're looking at the totality of the play and seeing if Shimanova actually touched the net.
Now that ball's out of bounds. That's outside the block, no question about that. But if there is a net violation, if the challenge was for in or out, but there was a net violation, then that will be enforced. That would be a violation against Syracuse. Let's take another look. I don't, as far as that replay was concerned, I did not see a net violation.
And that's, I think, what the officials are really making sure, because as you and I can see, Shimanova was nowhere near that ball on the outside by Klavina.
They're ruling no touch, as we just thought, and there was no net violation or anything else that might have put that point in the column of Boston College. So they will lose the challenge. 3 challenges per team. You get a 4th challenge if the match goes 5 sets. You can challenge ball in or out, ball up or down, 4 contacts, touch off a player, both at the net and in the back court, a net violation, 3-meter line violation, and a foot fault on the serve. Tied at 11, Syracuse leading 2-0. Lauren Hogan back to serve. Very poor pass, free ball coming. And off the block again and out of bounds. So Syracuse starting to find some rhythm on the outside, and a little bit of a smile from Shimanova. I think you made a great point and an interesting one, Jen, about the cultural differences and how one expresses oneself in terms of your body language. It was very thoughtful going back to my days of playing against Russia and Cuba and China and Japan and all the rest.
And even just the professional game, it's vastly different than the college game.
Yes,
for
very much so.
A lot of these athletes. So an international foundation that Syracuse has, it's nonverbal communication.
This ball missed out of bounds, and there'll be no challenge and no touch detected. For a player who's not a natural middle blocker, number 3 in white, Markova does a pretty good job of getting from pin to pin.
And Markova has done a phenomenal job of just remaining available to her setter. She has 10 kills on the night, as you see Klavina finally get a kill on the right side for Boston College. Now, again, we talked about it. Boston College has been in this situation before. They've always led the first half of a set. Let's see who's going to propel them in for their offense.
There is Anna Murphy, the 5'6" freshman out of Indiana, has done a wonderful job in the back line as the libero for Boston College. Easy serve, perfect pass. That, as they say, was a lollipop, and Markova puts that ball easily to the floor to score yet another point. You look at her season numbers, and I know it's a small sample size, but she's averaging just under 2 kills per set. You do the math today, she's got 12 kills on 18 swings. She's having a very, very big early evening in New York.
And again, you see that last block by McKay trying to stop Markova. She's reaching up instead of just pressing forward towards the ball.
Yastrub with a stab. Once again, Syracuse plays a woman up. McKay with a couple of good block touches, but extended a little bit too far and is called for the net violation. Syracuse now with their largest lead here. And we've come to the media timeout. We'll step aside. Coach there for Syracuse head coach Leonid Yellen, and played for Leonid Yellen, I should say. Nice dig down the line by Hogan. And that's going to be maybe a 3-meter line violation. That's the signal for it. That's one of the things that can be challenged. If you're not familiar, in order to attack legally out of the back row, you have to take off completely behind the 3-meter line.
And again, for Boston College with Claire Naughton in the back row, you're going to see a lot of opportunity. That was an entire foot over the 3-meter line, the 10-foot line for the college game. So you're going to see a lot of opportunity out of the back row for Boston College. But I'm looking for the person that's going to be that spark. Again, they've always been in this situation where they're down by a couple of points, but they're not really carrying the momentum. Because on the side of Syracuse, they're just kind of taking care of business, not really pushing and having that sense of urgency. So coming out of this timeout, Boston College really needs to put some pressure on Syracuse.
Boston College looking for a quality swing to put a 7-1 run to an end by Syracuse. Nice dig by Sada, the joust at the net. Free ball coming now to the Eagles of BC. Quickly to the outside and through the block and down by Jensen. As you pointed out, Jen, Boston College has been there right at this stage of the first 2.5 sets. Make it 3, and now they just got to find a way to close it out. Not a good blocking move by Caracasa, way off the net.
Way off the net, really not penetrating, getting good position, but Jensen doing a good job on the outside. Quiet night with only 5 kills, but that's just because the setters are really doing a good job of distributing the ball to their pin hitters. So who's going to take control for Boston College? That ball right there set way too low to take a swing.
Murphy with a superb cover. Her counterpart, Lauren Hogan, with a good first contact. And that ball, looking at the sideline, and look at Shamanova, can't believe that is her patented cross-court hammer, and just missed it over the sideline.
And you see Murphy for Boston College, she's in good position to recognize that ball is gonna go out. Could have easily been called in. Might look at a challenge. I would challenge that if I were Syracuse and Coach Yellen, but given the night that Shamanova has, they're probably going to do away with it.
That really was super, super close. Yeah, I might have challenged that as well, just to sort of stick up for my star. Nice cover once again by Murphy. But a misconnection. These 2 young setters, Sofia Lambros out of Fullerton, California, and her teammate Grace Penn, both freshmen out of Southern California, and that it was a big missed contact. In spite of the struggles by Shamanova, Syracuse has each set really improved offensively. 158 in the first, 220 in the second, and so far 310 in the third, and most of that, of course, because of Markova. Sada has been really good, as you pointed out, as has Yastrov. Good hustle by Yastrov, number 13 in white, playing right back. Sada through the block and down. That play was made possible by number 13, Yulia Yastrov, stretching out in the right back.
You're absolutely right. I've been really impressed with the defensive play by Yastrov on the right side, going middle back and right back. She's done a good job of picking up those scattered balls, just getting a hand on it, making sure that the object of the game is to keep the ball off the floor for your team.
To that point, Syracuse with 59 digs, Yastrov with 12. That is a big number. Let's take a look at the current standings around the ACC. Again, divided into 3 pods, Notre Dame. What strikes you when you look at these groups? I know there's 15 teams to deal with, but really what jumps up for you or jumps out at you, Jen?
I think at the beginning of this abridged fall season, we thought that the North was going to be a really heavy, tough region to really climb out of, with Notre Dame and Louisville and Pittsburgh, the top of the conference ACC last year. But looking at the South, Georgia Tech has really been impressive. They manhandled Wake Forest this past week. And Miami is another quiet sleeper. You see Florida State's down there below in that southern region, because they are without their defensive player of the year in Clothier. So again, that South and that North region, really heavy, but looking very, very impressive for the ACC conference.
And Florida State got their first win. That was over Miami of Florida. Florida State's been playing shorthanded. You talk about Georgia Tech over Wake Forest. And I thought Georgia Tech was really impressive out on the road. Really, really impressive. Syracuse on a nice run here, on top 18-14, looking to close out the visitors from BC 3-0. And this will be the end for Syracuse. This will be their, this is their 7th of 8 matches. These 2 teams will play again tomorrow, but this is the end of their fall schedule. The NCAA has announced that women's volleyball can recommence on or about the 20th of January, and then the NCAA championships will be in April, currently scheduled for the 23rd and the 25th. Site to be determined. Critical side-out opportunity. Nice dig, but too tight. Shimanova was right there and just dug that ball too tight to the net.
And Boston College continues to chip away at the Syracuse lead, but who's going to take control of this set if they want to come out with at least a W for the third one?
Bridget Green, a 5'8" freshman out of New York. New York, that is. And Shimanova out of the right back, missed that one long. Syracuse may just need a timeout. They're only on top 18-16 here.
And you know the strategy is to serve to Shimanova because she has been struggling on the offensive end. So having her touch the first contact is really crucial to figure out Caracasa. Who can she set?
And maybe take her out of her rhythm as a back row attacker. Nice dig by Murphy. And off the edge and down. Claire Naughton with a kill off the edge. Give you the numbers for Naughton. That's now 13 kills on 41 swings, hitting very respectively over 250. We featured her before first serve, and she has come through very nicely.
And you notice the adjustment that Boston College has made to the balls delivered to Claire Naughton. A crucial moment, you miss a serve for Boston College. But referring back to the way that the balls have been handled, Lambros has delivered a higher ball to Claire Naughton, and that's been way more effective for her on the offensive end.
Yeah, it's a fine line. You want to play fast. That's what you hang your hat on. You train for it every day, but at some point, not working. Give me a little more air. Give me a little more air. Berkeley Hayes, 5'6" sophomore out of La Jolla, California, on to serve. Good first contact, quality touch. Cassiano is slowed out of the middle. Naughton again, successful into the deep cross-court corner.
You'd love to see her full transition, really working hard. Claire Naughton on the left pin for Boston College with her 14th kill. But really, again, working hard, nice high hands, deep left corner. Syracuse could not pick that ball up.
Defensive specialist Berkeley Hayes mentioned from La Jolla, California. I was just thinking, you think La Jolla is farther from Syracuse than St. Petersburg? Just a thought. St. Petersburg, Russia, not Florida.
New server in, pushing
you're gonna
the
let
pressure.
That one, you're gonna leave me hanging on.
I'm gonna let that one go, Paul. I'm gonna let that one go.
All right, fair enough. I think that was a good choice on your part. That ball tipped right on the sideline. Very smart play once again by number 16, Abby Cassiano.
Good decision by Cassiano, noticing that Claire Naughton is helping on the block, figuring out how to make that decision with Chikwajeku out of the middle. So beautiful execution by Cassiano.
Absolutely right. Very, very smart read when she saw the off blocker was right there. On the overpass. And a net violation is going to be called against Boston College. That's a big break for Syracuse.
Chikwajeku in the net there for Boston College. Really frustrating. I'm assuming for Chikwajeku, she hasn't been really an offensive threat, only with 5 kills on the night. Not what she's used to, not really being able to connect with the setters for Boston College.
Well, the passing hasn't been good enough to get her the ball, and this was a medium pass. And I thought a good choice to go to Chikwajeku, but to your point, the rhythm between the senior middle attacker, Amaka Chikwajeku, and the 2 freshman setters, it just is not there right now. Timeout is called, and there you see the head coach, Jason Kennedy, working with one of his young setters. And while we have a timeout, want to remind you tonight, after Duke and Clemson's men's soccer, all ACC team will have a full breakdown plus highlights and scores from the night's matches and all the news and information from around the ACC. Thanks again for joining us. We'll have more matches coming your way as this fall season winds down. Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Louisville,
What are your general thoughts on the current state of the ACC, Jen? And you played in the conference. Where do you think it is? Last year, 4 teams into the NCAA tournament.
Well, when I was at Louisville, I actually played in 2 Conference USA and Big East. But coming into the ACC and seeing how a lot of the teams are recruiting East Coast and making sure that volleyball is still surrounding, I think ACC is coming up. You have the SEC who's really, really making a dent in the national scene. There's always going to be the Big Ten. There's always going to be the Pac-12. But I think that ACC is inching up there with the likes of the SEC and really controlling the East Coast.
Mentioned 4 teams in last year. Pittsburgh was there as the undefeated and 3-time consecutive champions of the ACC. Pitt, Notre Dame, Florida State, and Louisville. And your alma mater certainly made the biggest news in the NCAA tournament last year when they won the regional semifinal matchup over Texas in Austin before falling to Minnesota. Caracasa back to serve. Syracuse 3 points away from a sweep.
Interesting choice going to Yastrub, and this time off the left side. Is that Sada again?
Sada again. And that was a beautiful in system. You see Caracasa setting her feet, trying to hold the block. That ball shot out into the pocket away from Boston College.
Markova leading the way with 12 kills. Sada now with 9. Shamanova only 6 kills on 28 swings with 8 errors, hitting negative as a team. Syracuse hitting 194. Boston College 129.
And when we talked with Coach Yellen, earlier in the week, he said if Paulina needs to play great, Sada needs to play even better to help take that pressure off, and she's been getting it done tonight.
Cassiano and blocking has been a huge story so far for Syracuse.
And
Remember,
Yastrub
they had
getting
6
her
tough
hands.
blocks.
Yastrub, she does a great job of setting her feet, getting outside the pin, and then pushing in to make sure she closes that hole. So Yastrub, beautiful job on the block.
First of half a dozen match points for Syracuse, looking to put an end to this 4-match losing streak, and there it is. And it's Cassiano out of the middle. So after beating Pittsburgh the first 2 matches of this abbreviated fall season, Syracuse loses to Notre Dame, to Louisville, and now in their last weekend at home comes out victorious in the first of a back-to-back. Cassiano puts the ball to the floor, and Syracuse wins in a sweep. They win the 3rd set going away and take it 3-0.
And for Boston College, a young team, they've done some really good things. Claire Naughton had gotten a lot more activity towards the end of this match. But Syracuse, again, has all the pieces that they need to really figure out what type of offense they want to run. And it's going to be out of the middle first tempo if they want to get it done.
So Boston College, as you pointed out several times, Jen, was right there at 15, 16, 17, but they could not get across the finish line, and Syracuse wins it 3-0, 25-21, 25-22, 25-21. That'll do it from here. For Jen Hoffman, I'm Paul Sunderland, our entire ACC Network crew. Thanks so much for joining us. Now let's send it to all